Welton Rayom has more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes. They're committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. Call them for a free consultation. 954-966-4646. At Welton Rayom, they don't get paid unless you win. Property damage claims to your home, business, or condo as a result of a hurricane. Welton Rayom can help. Water, mold, fire, smoke damage, Welton Rayom can help. Call 954-966-4646.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
Welcome to Caneswear.
New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, Caneswear has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. Caneswear, the spot Miami fans shop.
We are live. It is the Smackdown recap. It is the eve of Money in the Bank. And overall, I think Smackdown did what it needed to do, which is get you prepared, get you ready, get that energy up in Toronto. They had the kickoff show earlier today and then right into Smackdown. Tomorrow, the kickoff show starts at 5 o'clock, which means the live card starts at 7, which means the pay-per-view will probably be over by 10. Then the post-scrum, and then I can go live. It is a good weekend of wrestling, and then NXT Heatwave on Sunday night. We'll be back here once again, going live, and then also we'll have all the predictions for NXT Heatwave. We did the predictions for Money in the Bank on the Squared Circle Digest. So if you go back and look, you can see how bad myself or Frankie Fresco guessed on Money in the Bank if you hold us to them. But this was a pretty damn good Smackdown as far as getting everybody ready and some new starts of maybe some angles. You saw Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill get back on the winning track against Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. Sorry, I almost forgot Indy's name. You also saw the Street Profits and Pretty Deadly in action. But other than that, everything else, and then the Bayley Piper Niven match, which ended up getting all of the participants in the Money in the Bank involved, including Tiffy Time, as she goes up and hit a beautiful, absolutely the prettiest moonsault ever. I'm sorry, the prettiest moonsault ever. But we got Cap for Life, and Frankie Fresco is in. DIY does capture the tag team titles. They do it again in Toronto. Going to be interesting to see what they do with A-Town Down now, as far as Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. We'll see where they go. But again, all roads tonight lead to Money in the Bank. SmackDown starts off with basically Jey Uso coming out, yeeting all over Toronto. And then, of course, LA Knight comes out. They have their verbal spar. Chad Gable entered. Then Carmelo Anthony enters. Then Andrade enters. Let's see, Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Hayes enters. Then Andrade. And then, of course, Drew McIntyre comes in and just says, let me tell you about my opponents. As he's getting in the ring, he's like, El Idiot, as Andrade is laying across the top turnbuckle. Looks at Chad Gable, says, I feel bad for you, Gable, or Chad. Then he kind of runs down. He looks at Carmelo and he says, hey, you're looking up at him. I'm him, not you, to Carmelo Hayes. And, of course, they all get their stuff in. At the end, it is LA Knight and Jey Uso standing in the ring. I just feel like everything is leading to Drew McIntyre winning Money in the Bank. I just feel like everything is going on to take Drew McIntyre to Money in the Bank. And then I have a feeling, and again, because we saw on Raw, he says, I'm leaving Toronto the champion. I believe the person that Toronto was chanting for will once again stop Drew McIntyre from becoming the heavyweight champion. So again, but I love the way they did this. And again, I like the way that WWE gets focus on more than what, like, you know, again, AEW had the ladder match, 6 men. And again, where the best wrestle, they ended up having them on the match the night before, the collision before Forbidden Door. They were in a 6-man tag match that went almost 25 minutes. They beat the crap out of each other. Jack Perry kind of stayed out of the match most of the time, but everybody else was in there doing their stuff. I feel like this is more of the way to go. But again, I get it. AEW is a little bit different in the fact that they say they're where the best wrestle. That is their moniker. They have to live by that. Cat for Life is in. He says, Drew McIntyre is funny, bro. He got good one-liners. He does. He's picked up on the good one-liners. And then Frankie Fresco says he thinks Jey Uso is yeeting as we speak. He may be. I don't think the man ever stops yeeting. That man is yeeting everywhere. And please, as Frankie said, hit that like button if you're watching us on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe, Stanley Media House Network YouTube channel. Also, click on over. Check out Frankie Fresco. You won't be disappointed. You might see a line like, let me talk to you. It's a good show on Wednesdays. They're having to move it around a little bit with the Columbia team, but you definitely want to tune into there. Him and Nick, or DiTrapio. Hopefully I didn't ruin everything, and it's DiTrapio in there. Having a great time talking some sports. But all in all, I thought this SmackDown delivered. Bayley had a good match with Piper Niven. It was more of the same of what they did at the Clash of the Castle pay-per-view. This was really just set up to where you had, you know, Chelsea Green at ringside. You end up having Naomi at ringside, Zoe sitting in the crowd, Lyra Valkyrie is in the crowd, Io Sky's in the crowd, and then, of course, Tiffy Time comes strutting down the walkway, and then all hell breaks loose, and Bayley does retain the title. KO, Randy Orton, Cody had a heartfelt promo. Thoughts and prayers out to Kevin Owens' mom and his whole family, as he said she is putting up one hell of a fight. I don't know all the things there. I don't need to know all the things there, but I send out the thoughts and prayers, and KO is a man on a mission. And not that he needs it. Again, it's in Canada. It's taking on the bloodline. I mean, this match has everything. This is going to be a fight, man. It's going to be a pretty cool match. And also, I'm starting to think this does not close. I believe Damian Priest, Seth Rollins will be the main event tomorrow night. I believe the main event will be Damian Priest, Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. And I believe the last thing you see going off the air will be Damian Priest holding the title, and then them scanning to CM Punk wherever he's at in the crowd, leaving after he has screwed Drew McIntyre once again. I don't know. I just had that feeling. I was thinking again that the 6-man closes the match, but as you heard in the promo as it was going off the air tonight, Solo Sikoa, he says it's the what we've been calling the tribal chief lei is called the Olafala. I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly, but I believe he called it the Olafala as he was wearing it. He said, "This makes me the tribal chief. Roman Reigns was not man enough to defeat Cody Rhodes." And he said, "At Money in the Bank, Cody Rhodes, you will acknowledge me." And let me tell you something. I did like the fact that they had this like dark boardroom type effect on how they were doing the smokiness and just Solo's kind of there. And then I loved at the end when he just sits back and they didn't do the whole, arm up. No, it was just the bend of the elbow and they all had the finger up. Small little things where Solo's putting his stamp on the tribal chief. As he said, that him having the Olafala makes him the tribal chief because Roman Reigns wasn't man enough to keep up the family legacy. So again, at some point, this is going to hit a head and Roman will return. My thing, and we talked about it on the Squared Circle Digest, I believe maybe Jimmy comes back, possibly, or this is more of a statement, because if you looked at the graphic now, it is Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, and Tama Tonga in the front. They've moved Tonga Loa to the back, so I'm guessing he's going to be in the corner. So this would make Jacob Fatu's first match in WWE, if in fact that the graphic is correct. I'm going off of the graphic I saw. They kind of put Tama Tonga Loa in the back like he's coming out with them, but the other three are more up to the front. So I'm guessing this might be Jacob Fatu's first match officially, or at least first official pay-per-view match, because I'm not sure if he's done anything on live shows or not. But his first official pay-per-view match. So that's another thing to look forward to at Money in the Bank. And I think this might be more geared toward getting Solo the pin on Cody at some juncture in this match, which would be the end of the match, of course. And then this would, I believe, lead to Solo Cody at SummerSlam. And then now you have Roman returning at SummerSlam with Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman can reconcile. I believe it's 4 weeks away for SummerSlam. So then Paul Heyman can recover, and then we could hear at the end of SummerSlam, or maybe Solo setting him up for the spike, and you hear, "Ladies and gentlemen," and the place will go berserk as Paul Heyman walks out and he acknowledges his tribal chief, and Roman Reigns comes back at SummerSlam. But in order, I believe, for that to work and get to that head, Solo needs to look not necessarily dominant. Like, you don't need to go in there and job Cody or anything, but I believe he needs to be the one, after everything's said and done, to score the pinfall on Cody to work toward SummerSlam being the next pay-per-view, and Solo there. And then ultimately, I think you'll end up getting, the interesting thing is if that does happen, say at SummerSlam, then at Survivor Series, which I see Cap for Life saying War Games, you could bring the War Games in for the Civil War and still make it a Survivor Series match. Imagine this. They use the Survivor Series stipulations where if you're pinned, you must leave. So they start them in the cage. As they're pinned, they get eliminated. It comes down to a 3-on-1. It's just Roman against Solo, Tama, and Jacob Fatu. And then, they have to go through all that and we'll have to see, what happens there. But again, that's all fantasy booking because none of this could happen. But that's what I love about having the different holes in the stories. I love having options to where my mind can run everywhere thinking of all these things that might happen and might not happen. Let's see. Cat for Life says, does Breaker beat Sammy? If so, my guilty pleasure would be to see Braun Breaker versus Jacob Fatu in the future. That would be a hell of a match. That would be a hell of a match. And I believe Breaker, I believe I picked Breaker. I believe Frankie picked Sammy because Sammy's always that underdog that ends up winning. And, and depending on, the way they do this, oh, you know what? No, I think I hedged my bet kind of. I said, and again, I'm wrong on this because I still believe Ricochet is going to AEW, but I said if he wasn't the mystery guy, imagine if he showed up at Money in the Bank for Samantha Irvin's honor, if Braun Breaker's kind of looking over at her and says, hey, I took your man out, and then Ricochet comes out, starts fighting on him, he gets rolled back in, Sammy hits the Luva kick, 1, 2, 3. Sammy could win there, and then Ricochet and Braun Breaker, which again is fantasy booking because I believe it is still set that Ricochet is AEW bound. But I would ultimately love to see that. And then he says, does Sammy help the bloodline? Look, there's been talk that they bring back the old bloodline, which was Roman, the Usos, and Sami Zayn. I've also heard that maybe it'd be a Heyman group, which would be, if you look at the Heyman guys, Roman, CM Punk, Brock Lesnar, which I don't believe Brock Lesnar is going. I don't think they need to bring Brock Lesnar back. If they do that, I just think you're setting up the Solo Sikoa side to not have a good run. Because I think it's better when you have the Usos and Sammy because they're going to make guys look good. You're not going to go in there and Lesnar, look, man, Lesnar goes in there, throws guys around. He'll take a little bit of a beating. But I feel like in this Civil War, there needs to be a lot of beatdowns. It almost needs to be Rock and Cody-esque at some point, like with the way they did the bus at the end when he's just beating them and he's whipping them and just, to me, that's what needs to happen in this because Solo's already said Roman's not man enough to be the tribal chief. You're making it personal. It's family and it's personal. So I don't know that there's going to be any they always say, oh, it's going to be a respect thing. I believe the respect is gone. Solo is running this group and they're running it like the streets. And I feel like that's, kind of how The Rock was running the final boss with Cody. And if you've watched the documentary, that's why sometimes I feel like there's little bits and pieces of The Rock in this. And hopefully maybe they get a little bit of insight from The Rock to where they can parlay this. And I'm not saying Solo doing this to Roman necessarily, but I would love to see them take out Jay and beat him up. Or even if Sammy does join or if Jimmy comes back, those are the guys they can beat down because again, Roman probably won't be there at every show. So when Roman pops in, they kind of get the upper hand, but when he's not there, the other group always, kind of pulls their shenanigans type thing and when they run this. So we'll see where they go because it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. Let's see. Chad Gable is the commissioner of SmackDown. He looks like he's running for office every time, man. And you know, I know Frankie, and when we discussed it on the Squared Circle Digest on Tuesday about if he would end up being like another member of the Wyatt Six. And I look at it, the more I look at it, I feel like, man, I almost feel like they have him so like suited and booted right now that like there's something gonna change drastically. And I'm wondering if that is the whole, you know, we talked about I think the scenario I put out, or Frankie, I can't remember who said it, was what if both of them are climbing up the ladder? The Wyatt Six, you know, all the lights start do, and then you look, you know, the lights go out, the lights come back on. It's the Wyatt Six kind of around the maybe just the three. I don't think you need Uncle Howdy out there. Maybe Uncle Howdy's up on the ramp or something, you know, controlling it or whatever. And you think they're going to go after Gable because that's who they've been after this whole time. And they take out Jay and try to help Chad win the Money in the Bank. And ultimately, somebody'd have to thwart that. Maybe the lights go back out, they come back on, and Jay's gone, and it's just Chad on the ladder, kind of cringed up. He looks around, sees that he's by himself, starts climbing, and then somebody else can take him out. But I think Frankie might have been onto something there, man. And it just, I thought it would go to the Creeds and Ivy Nile, but now starting to think he might be onto something, man. And Frankie's been right on a few things lately, man. And then Bailey defending her title against Nia Jax, and the Tiffany Stratton. I don't think if Tiffany Stratton's not going to waste her time cashing it in to make it a three-way. I think Bailey somehow beats Nia. Nia lays out Bailey perfectly. Tiffy runs down, hands over the briefcase, runs right up, hits the moonsault 1, 2, 3, and she wins the title at SummerSlam. I believe Tiffy is winning the title ultimately. But I don't think with the way her character is, she's not casting it in for a triple threat match. She's gonna pick and choose when is the right Tiffy time to go cash in that Money in the Bank briefcase. And then I agree. I think it will be at SummerSlam. I just disagree about it being a three-way. I think she lets Nia do her thing. Nia somehow loses the match, takes out Bailey, leaves her laying there. Here comes Tiffy down and hands over the briefcase, hits the moonsault, and Tiffy time is off and running. Let's see. They kind of made it clear Tiffany is going to. I believe so, man. I 100. I think she's still the betting favorite. Jey Uso has moved into the betting favorite for the men's, which I kind of find odd because now everybody I think is thinking CM Punk cost Drew McIntyre the Money in the Bank briefcase, and then Jey Uso wins it. I go with this. If the men Money in the Bank is the first match, Drew McIntyre wins it. I believe the main event will be Damian versus Seth. But if they end up making it the men's Money in the Bank briefcase match, then you know CM Punk is costing Drew McIntyre that briefcase. So, yeah, and Frankie said it right there. Jay started the show yeeting all over Toronto, and then Drew came in as the last one. So we'll have to see who starts the show. Again, I believe that order is very important in the way, or to me, the thinking of the way they want to do it. Do you want Drew to win? Because in a way, if Drew wins the Money in the Bank and in cash, you've wasted the Money in the Bank. Whereas if you cost them in the match, now Jay or whoever you have win it still has the Money in the Bank to cash in at a later date. Because if you do it the way I'm looking at, you've pretty much thrown away the men's Money in the Bank because you have the match and then you basically throw it away when you do the cash in. Unless, as Frankie also said on the show, maybe they do have Drew leave the Toronto as the champion. But in that case, then CM Punk is made a liar. Because in the scrum, he said, as long as I am here and I am in WWE, now he didn't say in the building, he said, I'm in WWE, he will not be world champion. And CM Punk is still in WWE. And then Drew McIntyre would be the champion. So those words might come back to bite CM Punk. Let's get to the chat here. Yeah, LA Knight was second to come out, and I believe it was Chad was third or Carmelo was third. I can't remember after that how they kind of came out. Michin also came out and thwarted Nia Jax from attacking Bayley during that title match. I'm not sure what they're doing with Michin as far as she was on NXT, had a hell of a match, a brutal match, but lost. And now here she is kind of in that little title picture with Nia. And then, you know, not that she's in the title picture, but she's feuding with Nia. Maybe they'll just have Nia kind of as leading up to SummerSlam feuding with Michin to just kind of build her up more and more as it goes. LA Knight still getting his push, you think? Yes, because again, here's the thing, man. With the Money in the Bank matches, and again, we talked about it also Tuesday nights. Don't forget, 7 p.m., Squared Circle Digest on the Stanley Media House Network YouTube channel or the Frankie Fresco YouTube channel. If you look at everything going on in the Money in the Bank match, honestly, let's look at this. You've got Drew McIntyre. CM Punk could cost him the match. LA Knight. You've got Logan Paul sitting there, which I don't believe that's far from over. I think LA Knight ends up becoming the United States champion at some point. So you have him that can cost that match. You've got the Wyatt Six with Chad Gable and Jey Uso. You've got the Bloodline, if they want to start that rolling, could cost Jey Uso as well. The only two in the match that really, you know, when we sat down and we kind of discussed it, you've got Carmelo and you've got Andrade are the two that have nobody that could. And again, I don't think WWE sits here in a Money in the Bank match and sends out, 30 people to cost everybody the match. I don't think all of this is going to happen. But when you look at the storylines, everybody in that match has somebody that could ultimately cost them if they wanted to go out that way, other than Andrade and Carmelo. And if you want to go stretch it a little bit, you could have Santos Escobar come out and cost Andrade. And then that leaves Carmelo. And then, look, NXT is in Toronto. Does Trick Williams come out and cost Carmelo? Again, very far-fetched. I don't believe WWE, Triple H, or any of them are going to schedule 6 run-ins to cost everybody in the Money in the Bank match. But there are a lot of possibilities of what could happen. And Carmelo kind of hinted at it. He's like, look, I could cash in, of course, on Cody here, or I could run to Raw and cash in on their champion, or I could go back down to NXT and whoop that Trick one more time. So, again, they have thrown out the different layers of it. And that's, again, to make people start just wondering, do I think Carmelo's going to win it? No. Do I think Andrade's winning it? No. I think it comes down to Jay or Drew. That's the two I think it comes down to. But, again, it is a Money in the Bank. And I said this during Queen and King of the Ring until I found out that the winner got a title match. They used to use these on up-and-coming talent that's almost there, but this gives them a chance to where, your Dolph Ziggler's, Miz, Sheamus at one point had the Money in the Bank. I'm trying to think of, going way, way back, the guys that were right there at the cusp. but they had the briefcase to where they had the opportunity. Edge back in the day, right? He was right there. He needed that opportunity to cash in, and he got it because he had the briefcase. So, it is something that can make somebody. Maybe they're not there now. Hell, Damian Priest held it for almost a year. Finally cashed it in. So, again, it gives you a lot of things to look at as it would go in. Let's see. Cat for Life said DIY had a good match. They earned it, but those tag titles keep changing. Both of them. Yeah, it's always odd with them is they win the titles and then they end up splitting up and end up feuding against each other as they lose it. And the interesting thing this time is I think that's what's going to happen with Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. I think ultimately you're going to see them and Austin Theory, I guess, go face, but I don't even know if Austin Theory can be a face right now. Like, I just feel like he is so heelish. He reminds me of, like, I know this is talking about SmackDown and we're talking WWE and stuff, but like, I can't believe how many people are like, man, I can't believe Mercedes Moné's getting booed in AEW. To me, she is a bigger, better heel than she is a babyface. To me, as Sasha Banks, as whatever you want, she like exudes heel. She's so like arrogant that you want to boo. And that's kind of what I get from Austin Theory. And I don't know that he'll ever come across to being a fan favorite. Will you cheer for him if he's versing Grayson Waller? Yes. But is he going to be that babyface? No way. Let's see. Mercedes, so crazy heel. Yeah. And then, the fight's going to be really good. The Brit and Sasha, or sorry, Mercedes Moné. Or now it's like Moné. I think she's saying it's like Moné, Mercedes Moné. All right, guys. What do you think they're going to? Do you think they're going to break up? Yes, I think ultimately they're going to break them up. I don't know. Maybe they get one more chance to try to win the titles back, and it happens. But or if somehow Grayson Waller blames because he was going to tap out, Austin Theory catches his hand, and then Ciampa puts him in his finisher, and they end up double tap at the end of the show, and the new WWE Tag Team Champions on SmackDown. So thank everybody that joined us. If you're on X, please hit that like button, jump over to Stanley Media House Network YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button as well. If you're watching us on Twitch, jump on over to the YouTube channel, Stanley Media House Network. Please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Also, jump on over to Frankie Fresco YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. I promise you will not be disappointed. We will be back tomorrow. I'm going to watch the pay-per-view. I'm going to listen to the scrum. So probably an hour after the pay-per-view, we'll go live talking the fallout from that. And then I will probably or I might just send out my thoughts on NXT Heatwave, and then we'll go live at the end of Heatwave discussing that. I'll probably throw out my picks on Sunday. But an hour after the pay-per-view, the scrum usually lasts at WWE. It doesn't go all night. So around 11 o'clock, probably, I'll be on discussing Money in the Bank and the fallout from it right here on the Stanley Media House Network YouTube channel. And I thank everybody. Please follow me on Instagram, X, Threads, the TikTok, Sean_Stanley11. You can see it there. And I appreciate everybody's support and your continued support. We are growing. The channel is getting bigger. We are getting better. And I appreciate each and every one of you that tune in and watch the Squared Circle Digest, whether it's me and Frankie, whether it's the shows that are going on here. From the bottom of my heart, I sincerely thank you. And in the words of the great Gordon Soley, so long from the sun, shine, stay.